We have come to a complete rotation in this circle of life. Last time we were here at Maribett Farms, it was spring and these bushes were freshly green. Now a few months later, they're full with blueberries. There's no great secret to picking these delicious berries, and there isn't an easier fruit to prepare or serve. You don't need to peel, pit, core, or cut, plus they freeze, can, or dry for long-term storage, if you don't make short work of them into a pie, cobbler, or even just a snack. Come take a walk with me while Ron Maribett takes us through this patch one more time.
Hi everybody, this is Ron Maribett again here at the Maribett Farm, and this is the third in a series which you can find on YouTube either through the MaribettFarm.com Facebook page or through PACTV in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Today we're going to talk about the harvest, and we're going to begin by talking about the infrastructure we use to net the blueberries to keep the birds off without using measure-all. This is an organic operation. You'll notice that we have this thistle blueberry netting. It's pretty resilient. We do need to do some replacement, but it's good, strong. It's 1-inch openings, usually small enough to prevent 90% of the birds from coming through there. You'll see down here we have chicken wire. It's the same opening size. And the reason for the chicken wire here is permaculture. So we also raise organic meat birds. We like to allow them some forage. So as soon as the harvest is over, set up a little housing arrangement for them, and we'll let them out to forage among the blueberry plants and eat up things like poison ivy and dropped berries that might be affected with pests and things like that. So it's cleaning up after the harvest and providing good nutrients for people to buy when they're buying organic meat. We've come up with a new approach this year. It's a mailbox stake that we drive into the ground, so it will last a much longer time. So we'll put much less stress on forestry products to suspend our netting. Maybe at some point we can replace this with a durable composite or maybe PVC or something like that, but we're always considering the ecological implications of materials. In the off season, we're going to take these down and seal them up and spray paint them to further protect them, but we want to let them open, let the pores open up during the warm season here so that it can accommodate the paints that we use to make them stronger. We put these recycled plastic bottles and we cover the top to prevent water from standing on the top of the wood so that it will, rot it out. And so it serves a dual purpose of recycling plastics, getting them out of the waste stream, and protecting the wood for longevity. Here's one of the ways we fasten the netting to the fencing. We used recycled baling twine, which we get when we buy salt marsh hay. The seedless mulch comes in these, so we can recycle those and use them to tie off. Another way we fasten them is with fine metal wire. Both of these will last forever because that's plastic and this is metal. We suspend the netting on number 12 wire that goes along the tops and cuts across strategically. You can see we mow the aisles in the blueberry patch to make it clean and safe. You can see how this protects the blueberries. Of course, they're much better protected in the inside because birds can land on this and peck their way through. But since birds are famous for making nests, they're good at weaving, and so they're good at unweaving. Ultimately, when you have too many holes, you have to replace it because they'll figure out how to get in, even though you might have patched something. See this right here? So when you see a bird and they go out, you go to that place immediately because that's where they came in and where they'll go out. If you can just give me a little piece of wire and I'll patch this one temporarily, but there, and get it through, okay? And this needs a little more attention too, okay?
Okay.
But we're good for now, and you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
This is 100 feet by 30 feet. It's one of 4 of these netting infrastructures that we will have up by this time next year. And so we've been building this up and now they're getting back to a point where they're starting to yield again. And we'll have 3 different sections next year, and then we're going to do permaculture plantings, variations of different plants, in between these patches. So it'll be a variegated orchard. Probably going to put a little coop right here and match the netting around to it. The other reason for leaving the netting up while the birds are in here is for hawk protection and other predators, so that during the day you can have a hawk presence, but they won't try to fly through netting. If they do, they'll get caught in it and it will be fatal. They have the greatest eyes, those hawks. They know what they're doing. What we'll do is put a little shed here, maybe on wheels, and make an opening and secure this all the way around it, and then we can have a back door to feed them and a way to get into the front through a gate we're going to put here to close them in at night, because the raccoons, the other predators, they don't mind using the netting for a trampoline and finding an opening or making one. We're in a wildlife corridor here of about 200 acres between Sampson Park here in Kingston and the town well site on the north of Elm Street. And then on the other side is the Southeastern Massachusetts Wildlands Trust. So this has become a wildlife corridor. We see a lot of deer, we see skunks, all kinds of critters out here if you come out at night. And so we have to protect the birds from that. And we have to protect the blueberries from the daytime predators. This is pretty much the operation where we're prepared to harvest. Lessons learned from harvesting many, many years. We actually got here in 1986. We've been harvesting blueberries more or less ever since. This is a pint container, holds 1 pound of blueberries. So we have this expression we use in the biz, a pint's a pound the world around. So we use this for we ask people to bring their own recycled containers to take the blueberries away, because we can save on the cost of these. These are about 10 cents a piece. And of course they're manufactured and there's all of that energy use. As an alternative to having a scale in the field, we just fill one of these up, and we'll show you that when they come back with a batch of blueberries. So I have 2 pickers here. This is Jenilyn Warkup. You've met her in a previous video. She's involved with the weather station over here to monitor climate implications for agriculture with Dr. Hellstrom at Bridgewater State University. And this is Clara Bowman, and she's a Duxbury resident, but also a student of communication at University of Massachusetts Amherst. And she's been an intern of sorts here this summer as well, helping out with the infrastructure and with picking. She's a great picker. We're going to try to do a little production.
Like Brown was saying, we just set up all this netting over the past few days. And so this is our entrance over here. And so now this helps protect this from the birds, and so all these ripe ones the birds will love. So now we have it a little bit protected in here. And then the easier they fall off the stem, the riper and the sweeter they are also. And since we're harvesting to sell to farm stands and things, that's definitely what you want to look out for, is have them be as ripe as possible. And something I like to do to help is, like, sometimes I get under, and if you look above, there's so many under the leaves that you would never see from other angles, and so I like to kind of get the bush from a lot of different angles as you're doing it, and you find a lot more that you wouldn't see otherwise.
So what if you were to pick one that wasn't necessarily ready, but it just...
Yeah, like totally ripe yet? Yeah, so what we do with that, and so this is just the first step in kind of a process to process the blueberries, and so you'll pick, and of course, like, you'll get some that you won't realize will have, like, try to show you. Some of them have white spots, some aren't quite ready, and so once we bring them up to the barn, we lay them all out, and then we take them through our hands and we kind of sort through, like, which ones have maybe blemishes, which ones aren't ripe yet, and then we put those in a different bucket. And a lot of times those can be used for baking or cooking because it doesn't matter as much. So we do really use, like, every blueberry that we pick, which is pretty cool.
Before, when you guys were kind of patching everything up, you guys were talking about PI. When you're picking blueberries, what do you have to be concerned about?
Yeah, poison ivy is definitely a big thing. You do have to be, it's cool because it brings you into the process fully, because you do have to be really mindful of where you're about to reach your hand, like where you're about to step into, because poison ivy does like to trail right up the bushes, and so it's all over the place. Sometimes you'll find little bugs and stuff to watch out for, and you flick them off or keep an eye out for, like, if there's like a bunch of caterpillars, you'll avoid that. Oh yeah, so this bush has poison ivy vines all coming. That's actually like all poison ivy. That's kind of crazy. So this is what most people know when it looks like when it's young. It has the reddish leaves, the really oily young leaves. And so this whole thing is poison ivy. And even in the winter when it's dead, the stems are still, you can get the oils from it and still get a poison ivy rash. So definitely this is a bush that we wouldn't pick too much. And then you just really have to be mindful of like what are the different plants going on in here. Like there's some growing up down right there. So you just have to be mindful. And most people probably know leaves of 3, leave it be. That's a good one that I like to remember because it's nice and easy. So you look for the leaves of 3 that come up, and then when they're younger they'll have that sheen, and then when they're older they're more matte and like a light green color. And they look totally different in all seasons. Like in the fall their leaves turn red, so you watch out for a different color then. You just have to kind of know what it looks like in its different forms because it takes on a lot of different ones. It can be anywhere from like 1 to 3 days to kind of appear, so you never know if you're gonna have it or not. But yeah, this appeared in 1 day. And you have to wash it with a special kind of soap that gets the oils out, and never use hot water because then the oils will spread and just go everywhere. So always cold water, and always it's better to be more cautious and just wear long clothes, long pants, long shirts. And then probably another thing to be aware of also is it depends on the weather, but the sun is definitely something. When you're out here like working in fields and everything, I feel like it's really easy to get caught up and not think about the sun and how much it's actually beating down on you. So that's probably another thing.
How long does it normally take you to get to a pint of blueberries as far as picking goes?
It definitely varies a lot depending on how much the bushes are. I had started kind of doing it methodically, trying to go 1 bush at a time, and I found that that took a lot more time. I feel like it's better to kind of walk around and see where there's a bunch and then do that and then kind of go to the next bunch of them. And it'll probably take maybe like a good half an hour, 45 minutes to get around up to here. So it's definitely time consuming, but it goes quicker sometimes, it goes slower if you're being more methodical. And then sometimes there's ones that you pick and they're already kind of gone by, which we try to avoid and get them before that. But if there are some that are already gone by, we usually just leave them on the ground for whatever wants to eat them. So we're not wasting. A few of them definitely have a little bit of what Ron would call a red eye. So a lot of times you'll find one that have a blemish in this already, and a lot of times it's because either a bird pecked it or a bug got into it and it will kind of leave. So you'll go to pick it and you won't realize until your finger goes right in it and it's mushy and feels gross. And so usually we leave those on the ground also.
What other creatures tend to get in here other than birds?
We've definitely seen bunnies so far. A lot of bugs too, because bugs we can't really stop. And then another thing Ron always says when you're harvesting is you have to be careful to stay in the rows and not knock into the bushes and knock off a whole arm of the blueberry bush. So definitely in that sense being mindful also of where you are and what you're hitting up against.
It's my first time picking them. It's very nice because I've pruned many of these the winter and some of the spring. It's something to be said about picking the fruits of your labor. And I'm a blueberry fanatic, so I'm very glad to have a stronger connection with my love. I mean, I'm very ready to take them home, see how they last, see what I can do with them, to make the most use, because it's a little luxury. It's such a luxury to have this land, to have all these plants, you know, now giving us fruit for us to pick.
So do you think you have about a pint?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Oh yeah, I should probably transfer these now so they don't get mushy.
Okay, and then we can pick these up, pick out more refuse. And the final cut in sorting is that we take one of these and we run them through our hands. See that? You can see each one. These are pretty good looking berries. I wonder who, oh, I picked these. Okay, had a little experience. Alright, so that's that. Let's take some of Jenilyn's. Since this is a small container and it kind of matches the pint, we don't have to pour it all off. We can do them one shot here. Ooh. So this right here is a red eye, not ripe. So we'll throw those, we'll put all of those, we call them culls. We'll cull those out. And the thing about the red eye is it's a good berry for cooking because the red represents pectin, which is a natural preservative. You want to put that in something that you're going to add sugar to anyway because it's very tart. Or you want to put that in a corn or blueberry muffin. So we cull off the red eyes. They're still highly nutritious and valuable fruit. When's the last time you picked, gentlemen?
This is my first time.
This is awesome. She's a star. You're gonna. All right.
Really
So
good.
she's got herself a close to 2 pints of really good blueberries with an occasional cull. So that's pretty much how we do that. We do that till it's level. Maybe throw a few more on afterwards. If you have a question, you can go on to maribettfarm.com on Facebook and post a question, and we will give you answers. We'll get back to people. If you have to like us, you know how to do that, I'm sure. And also, we have an Instagram account, which has just been put in place. So we're happy to answer questions and so on and so forth. Thank you.
The longer they stay on the bush to fully ripen, the sweeter the berry becomes. Gently using your thumb, roll the berry off the stem and into your palm. Ideally, once the first berry is picked, you will place it in your bucket or basket and continue until you have harvested all the blueberries that you want. Once you are done harvesting the blueberries, you can use them immediately or freeze them for later use. However you decide to use them, you can rest assured their amazing nutritive properties are well worth the afternoon at the berry patch. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll see you next time.